Good afternoon, boys and girls. How's everybody doing? Cindy, you got something blocking your camera.
That is so weird. What's
There we
going
go.
on with
Is that your
that?
micro? Is that your
Let's
microphone?
fix that.
I
Hey,
got it.
I'm not talking about what that is because last time I thought I was making a joke. I made a bad joke. So there you go.
I got my little, I don't know if you guys, anybody saw some of our live event pictures from last week, but I got my little drumstick from Nashville. That was pretty cool. The 7-figure MSP drumstick. I got that. What I don't have is our members that were award winners were given their own cowbells because we were in Nashville and you got to have more cowbell. So we were using this to bang, and I don't have a cowbell. Amanda did not give me a cowbell. I feel left out because I got a drumstick, but no cowbell.
Oh, man. Next time.
Anyway, so Cindy Phillips, good to see you today. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Really happy to be here with you today. Last week in Nashville was like such a high. I'm still riding that high, my friend.
Well, it was pretty cool because for those of you that are watching fresh, we had our live event for 7-figure MSP in Nashville, Tennessee, here in Central United States last week. It was awesome. We had a completely jam-packed room. It was so many good things. But Cindy stayed home in, I guess you're, kind of what Canyon Lake area, South Austin, North San Antonio. We'll say that. Here in Texas, and she was our Zoom moderator, which was awesome. We had a huge group of people watching live on Zoom. It was absolutely awesome. So we had so much good energy coming remotely. I was talking all this smack to Cindy remotely. You couldn't do a thing. It was amazing. I'm on stage just poking.
Exactly.
I loved it, every second of it. And Chris Voss, if you guys don't know who Chris Voss is, Google him. Chris or Christopher Voss, VOSS. Was our keynote speaker on Thursday. He was absolutely tremendous. Talked about how important it is to put assessments in front of people. Like, he doesn't even know our industry, and he was actively talking about things that are closing deals for our members this week alone. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and Chris, I want to shout out to all of our friends who are in the program who might be watching us today. One of the things I love about our program is we had this event closed Thursday night at 5 o'clock, and the recordings were up Monday morning. So for those of you that were there, those of you that missed sessions because you had to run down the hall or whatever, they're all there. You can watch them start to finish.
And pre-day's up there too. So that's kind of cool.
And pre-day killed, man.
Yeah,
pre-day killed.
Good. Yeah, I got to give a little props to Ryan O'Hara. It was his first time really like running something. He ran all of pre-day. He's our VP of Member Services here at 7-figure. So that was really cool. Okay, so a couple things, little housekeeping items, and I was kind of, for those of you that do live broadcasts, note how in the beginning there we had a little bit of chat, gets everybody on the call. So you're not just starting your presentation and then people miss stuff. And we usually kind of go to like 3 to 5 after the hour after start time to give people time to come in. So just a little pro tip for you guys. Next thing, you'll see on the bottom of the screen, you'll see we have a scrolling banner for our next event, which is going to be mid-August. It is effectively the third week of August in Chicago. I just came out of Nashville. It's going to be in Chicago. It's called the MSP of Dreams. We got some amazing stuff coming from that, including a Cubs game. It's an inner city game because we have Cubs versus Sox. That's your Chicago White Sox versus your Chicago Cubs. So that'll be pretty fun. We're doing a full rooftop event at Wrigley View. If you guys haven't heard of that, Cindy, I really hope you come to that because you're such a baseball fan, but we rented out all of Wrigley View, which is the rooftop thing across the street, which is badass. So I'm really excited about that.
That's going to be classic.
Yeah, cool. Okay. One last thing for those of you that are watching with us live, we're doing something different on today's broadcast. We are going to be giving away 2 $100 Amazon gift cards on today's broadcast. You do need to be present. We are going to draw that at the end. I'm not going to tell you when the end is. It could be anywhere between now. We're going to have some kickers middle of this as we go here. And then we'll draw it at the end. So you got a couple times to sign up here. So you guys know that. So Cindy, without further ado, what are we talking about today?
Well, today we're talking about our sales process. And specifically, we're talking about why a cybersecurity risk assessment can revolutionize what your business is doing and what you're capable of accomplishing. But before we get rolling, Chris, there's always a tip you give to our Facebook users that has to do with StreamYard so we can see their faces.
Oh, yeah.
Can you remind everybody what that is?
Yeah, so if you're commenting on Facebook, one thing I'll tell you, there's an option to add StreamYard as an app to your Facebook. You'll kind of see instructions at the top or the bottom of what you're watching on. But if you're watching specifically on Facebook, you have to give permission to StreamYard, and it's only so I can see stuff like this. So for example, it shows up to us as Facebook user versus Brian Judra here shows up as that. So that's a good point, Cindy, on that. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so we're going to kind of dive into things, and just to kind of get us rolling a little bit about us. 7-figure MSP, we do sales and marketing coaching for MSPs only. And my favorite thing, God, I love it, is watching people more than double their revenue, more than double their profit. That's what we're all about. We're all about giving you the skills you need to make that happen.
How about the wins we had last week, by the way? We give away an award called the MRR Club, the Monthly Recurring Revenue Club, to where we give away an award for 10, 25, 50, and 100K of new MRR in the program. And we had, I think, 8 new people. I think it was 8 new people that hit 100K of MRR added since they joined our program. So super stoked about that. That was really exciting for me.
And the other thing that was cool in the program last week, and it was a Facebook post inside our private group, so many of you might not have seen it, but people were putting in what their return on investment was. And Chris, was that not your favorite post? People really cool. put in $9. Put in $1, get $9 back. Put in $1, get $21 back. It was all over the map. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing. Anyway, on the team, it's Chris leading the team. He's our visionary. Then I do the sales coaching. Ryan O'Hara is our VP of Member Services. And you've probably seen Lindsay Badillo, who is our marketing coach. So that's who is on our team. And you're probably here because you're not satisfied with what's going on in your business today. So what we want to do is we want to look at this and we want to say, how do we take this dissatisfaction and fuel it toward growth? How do we make the world better for you? So our 4-week agenda for the next 4 weeks, what we're doing is, first of all, today, we're going to talk about how to make your network assessment pay off big. Don't make a fumble, how it can help you score. And then we're going to pivot next week into turning on your prospect's risk light bulb and how to get that light bulb turned on from the first time appointment. Then we'll be looking at how to unlock the power of authentic conversations to close deals, to create win-win deals, how to uncover objections and close sales. And finally, in the 4th week that you'll be with me, we'll be talking about how the decisions that you make in your business can simplify your business and increase your profit and increase your ability to provide a stellar service to your customers. And in making these decisions, it's really what it's all about in being a business owner. And that's why good, better, and best is no match for what I like to call the MRR king. So for today, there's 3 questions that I want to make sure we help you answer as we go through the next 40, 45 minutes together. And the first one is this. I want you to be able to answer the question, how can a cybersecurity risk assessment help you score big? We're going to come back to this question at the end, but this is super important. This is my main goal today. I want you to understand how doing what I call a diagnose and prescribe sales model makes all the difference in your batting average. Okay? And that's what we're all about. The second thing, which is even more important, is how doing a cybersecurity risk assessment the proper way bonds you and your client together. Okay? Bonds you and your client together. So now what I want to do is I want to ask you a question. Well, maybe I shouldn't ask you this question, but I can't help myself. I want to ask you this question right now. Have you ever been in a relationship that was based on instant gratification?
My wife would say yes, but
so I just want to plant that seed because we're going to talk about how that really works in the work world, because we do it all the time, but how does it really work? And that leads us to this idea of what kind of client relationships you want. So I want you to just take a minute and I want you to write down how many clients you have. How many clients do you have right now? Just write down the number. I bet most of you can't tell me the number exactly, right? Most MSPs don't have more than 40 clients. Most MSPs, when they come into our onboarding, cannot tell me just like that, how many clients do you have? But what they can tell me is how many clients they have that they don't want. So how do you change that relationship? How do you turn things around? How do you get the respect that you deserve and that you need? So in our sales process, we do things differently. we actually have a playbook that we use, and we love sports analogies, but we have a playbook that we use. And I want you to take a screen grab of this if you've never seen it before, because what we do by design is we start with a first time appointment. And next week, I'm going to break down that first time appointment in deep detail so you know exactly what to do. But we use our first time appointment differently. And what we use it for is we use it to find a match on values. And we also use it to repel away the people that we don't want to be doing business with. And there is nothing more powerful to the growth of your business than embracing two-letter word no. Okay. We move from that first time appointment to the discovery call. And in the discovery call, we start asking detailed questions about how the business operates and how the decision makers operate so that we can understand what our next step needs to be. Now, in our model, our third step is always finding out in detail what is going on in their business from a technical perspective and from a managerial decision-making perspective. And that requires running something that I like to call a cybersecurity risk assessment, but really, that's not what it is. What it is a paid for professional services engagement that allows you to dig deep under the cover of what's going on in a business before you make the decision whether you want to tie yourself to this potential client company. And because it's a paid for service engagement, I don't work free. You shouldn't work for free. We're going to charge money for this. And that fundamentally transforms the relationship with the prospect. Because from word go, from the first step, you're not working for free. And that's
so Cindy, really quick on that, a couple things that I run into, and I don't know if you saw this. This came up a couple of weeks ago. There's the IT and MSP business owners group, our big 20,000 member Facebook group, has like a chat that goes along with it. And there was a gentleman that asked a couple of questions in that chat. And he said, when I provide the free assessment, how should I give it out? 2, what tools should I use? And I said, well, 1, you should always have a professional services engagement, AKA you should be doing a paid engagement. 2, here's a recommendation of there's no one tool, but all these different tools. And we'll get into the cybersecurity risk assessment side in a minute. This is where the industry's head is at. And this is where I'm going. He immediately came back and said, I didn't ask your opinion whether or not I should give a free assessment or not. I'm giving a free assessment. So okay. The industry as a whole, their mindset is, I have no value, so I'm going to use this freebie gimmick to try and get in the door. And that's what Cindy's really talking about there, and how important that is to set that expectation on minute 1.
Okay, so I want to talk about number 1, why, and I'm just going to get into this. We'll forget about the slides for a second, okay? I want to go right after that mindset issue right there. The decision that you're giving a free assessment. Let's talk about what you've just done when you decide, I'm doing a free assessment. The first thing you're doing is you're telegraphing to the end user client that your time has limited value. You're telegraphing to the end user client that they're not unique. You're telegraphing to them that you are absolutely not interested in their business at depth. You're basically doing a spray and pray engagement, okay? And that means they're a number. So what happens when I go to the store and I want to be a number? I go to Walmart. And what do I do at Walmart? I buy on price, right? Now, a lot of people go to Walmart, and that's great. But the question is, do you have your business tuned to run like a Walmart? Probably not. So what that means is that your margins are razor thin, and every time you make a small error, you don't have enough cash flow in your business to recover or to make investments or to look toward the future, because you're always running on a shoestring. And I've talked to so many MSP owners, Chris, that when you run on a shoestring for about 7 years, do you know what happens? You need a blood transfusion. Because the clients have been sucking the blood out of you. Right?
Yeah. Well, not only that, you're kind of like the entire relationship you have with that client is fully transactional. So all you want, next best thing comes along, you're gone. That's
now.
really
Let me show you. Let me show you exactly how I sell against a free assessment. I'll show you exactly. First thing I'm going to say is, oh my, a free assessment. Well, that's interesting. How much do they really know about your business? How much time are they really spending with you? I imagine this is something they just give to everyone. Is it even worth your time to review the results? Right? Is it worth your time to review the results? Now, most business owners know and are very familiar with this phrase. Chris, I want to know if you've ever heard this. Free is not cheap enough.
Yeah, right.
Right? Free is not cheap enough. If I'm willing to give it to you for free, do I value it? No, because I'm giving it to you for free. Do you value it? No, because you're getting it for free. Do we have any investment in each other? No. We are in an instant gratification relationship right now. Right? And that is no foundation to build a true business relationship on. You're building this thing on sand. You're inside the high tide mark. And when the high tide comes in, you're going to get washed out like flotsam. It's just boom, there you go.
Okay, so, I'm gonna bring your slides back in. I just want to get us full screen there.
Yeah, so we'll get going. So we do the CSRA, and then when we share the results, that's when we close for service. Okay, so before we close for service, we know exactly what's in their configuration. We know how their executive team makes decisions. We know how much they value technology. We know what kind of risk they have in terms of the type of data and the type of transactions that we do. We know all of those issues before we put a bid together. So we're putting together an informed bid, which is super, super important. And so the first thing we got to do is we got to shift our mindset, and we've got to leave the network assessment idea behind. Now, a lot of people give away free assessments because our dear friends at Network Detective taught us all how to do this about 10, 15 years ago. And man, we thought that was great. But you know what? Say it with me, everybody. Things have changed.
Things have changed.
Things have changed. So how did they work for you? Well, sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't work, but they certainly didn't make you unique. They did not make you stand out. And so why do clients need to know about risk? They need to know about risk because things have changed. And it's really different. And when you do a more comprehensive diagnosis, what happens? You have the opportunity to know more about their business than they do. Is that important to you at this point in the sales process? It should be. The second thing that's important is you've got to have a way to build commitment in the client company. So were network assessments easy to do? Heck yeah. Did the clients really care about the results? Oh, no, they didn't. You bring in 500 pages of paper, it kind of looks somewhat impressive, but let's face it, they didn't value it, right? So who was involved when you did the work? And this is a big question. I want you to write down who is involved when I do the work, when I do the assessment. If you're doing that work and it's hands-free as far as the client's concerned, oh, we'll do it and then we'll come back and we'll share the results, but you're not involved in the workflow, in the process, in the digging for information, how committed are they to you before you get to the closing table? 0. That is a big change, right? Now, when you get people committed to how you do your work and involved in the work, is it harder or easier for them to walk away from the table? It's harder because they've already invested their own sweat into it. And they've built rapport with you. They've built a relationship. So when decision makers are involved in the assessment process, it kills, man. You get better results. So when you build this relationship that's based on instant gratification, everybody can run away from the table. That's what happens. You're just a number. When you really build on focusing on what people need, it is completely different. So if you've been doing network assessments for a really long time, and a lot of people have, and free assessments don't really mean that much to the client, why are you still doing it? What does it mean to you? Do you think of it like a lead gen technique? Is it really working as a lead gen technique?
You know why most MSPs are doing it?
Habit.
Not only habit, but They were told to do it by someone.
Right.
And it's a big factor of, Cindy, you say this all the time, do what you always did, get what you always got.
Exactly.
And if you think about how you first started doing assessments, I first guy to raise my hand, I started doing free network assessments because I was told to do it that way. But then as I matured, mentally I haven't matured, but as my businesses matured, as my business models matured, as my sales models matured, I realized that free meant cheap, free meant easy, free meant commoditized. So I'm not saying you can't do a free assessment, but just prepare for what is going to happen when you do a free assessment. And a free network assessment or a free assessment is a totally different animal than a paid cybersecurity engagement. It's totally different animals.
And that's why we want to call it an engagement. And also, Chris, we haven't even touched on the fact that when you do a fee-based engagement, what do you have protecting yourself? You've got a statement of work.
You actually have an agreement in place, or at least you should be, right? I remember, there was 1,000 times my team walked in, we plugged in our jump drive and ran our network assessment, pulled it out and walked out the door. Like there's many times that happened. We never had anything in place, but I'll go back to what you said 5 minutes ago. Times have changed. We have to do things differently, guys. And you got to start understanding this, because the only way you're going to start being able to command the right pricing. Nobody says you have to charge more, for the record. You're welcome to keep charging as little as you want. I don't care. But do you want to be in a class of MSP that grows, that is in best in class scenarios and situations? Or do you want to be the guy that does everything based on how cheap you are? You have to weigh that. They're both hard. Choose your hard.
So here's the thing. If you're doing free assessments, you've got to have some kind of concern about doing fee-based cybersecurity assessments. So just tell us, what are your concerns? We'll air it out. We'll talk about it right now. Just go ahead and load up a comment and tell me, what are your concerns about doing cybersecurity risk assessments? Because you must have them, right? Maybe it's that your concern is going to take too much tech time. Or maybe you're worried that, hey, I got something that's kind of working. Moving into the unknown is always a little bit uncomfortable. But let us know what those issues are. And don't worry. Oh my God, Facebook user at 1252. I just love you to death, man. Trying to pick the tools to give me the biggest bang, right? So here's the thing. We can't worry about the tools yet. The first thing we have to do is change the conversation.
Yeah. So here's a great question with that. This came from Jonathan right on. He's on Facebook right now watching.
Right.
You guys are welcome to read that.
So when first approaching a prospective client, how do you get them to commit to this level of engagement? It's really simple. I'm going to model it for you right now. I've asked you a bunch of questions in discovery, right? And now I'm just going to fold my hands. I'm going to look you square in the eye. And I'm going to say, based on what we've learned here today, the next step in our process is to take a deeper dive into what's going on in your business so that we can understand the security gaps and the level of risk that you have. We do that with a fee-based engagement called a cybersecurity risk assessment. Is that something you'd like to move forward with? Now,
the key piece of comment that came from Chris Voss last week also, remember what he said after you asked some of these pivot questions? What do you do, Cindy? Do you remember what he said?
No, I don't. Tell me.
He said, shut up. He literally said on stage, shut up. Ask the question. Stop word puking all over your client. He called it word vomit. Shut up. So part of the thing here, guys, is having, Cindy, can you back up a couple of slides specifically to your one with the process play there?
Oh yeah, let me keep backing up here a little bit.
One more, I think, or a couple more. Right here, this one.
Right.
So the important thing here, guys, and for Jonathan, for you in this case, you can't walk in the door expecting to do an assessment on the fly. You have to have a sales process, which means that first appointment should lead to discovery questions. You should obviously know some things ahead of time, but you should lead to discovery questions. What is your process for asking discovery questions and determining whether they are a fit for you and you're a fit for them? What happens with most MSP scenarios is we are so desperate for clients that we skip over all this stuff to try and go in to make out with the girl on the first date. Like you're literally 5 minutes in the door and you're trying to make out with her. That's not how this can work anymore. You have to have process. So you want to level up, you got to have structure, you got to have a plan, and you got to have a system. And it should all lead towards, okay, here's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Okay, we've gotten through these first 4 steps. Now we've determined they're a good fit for us. Let's transition them with a system. And that's you being trained and process driven as well. So
now I want to go back. I want to go back to Jonathan's question. Mm-hmm. So when Chris told you what Chris Voss taught us last week, Jonathan, here's the thing. If you noticed when I modeled the behavior, the last question I asked was, is this something you'd like to move forward with? Right. And what you didn't get to see was that's the point where I go quiet. Right. And that's something we train and build muscle for all the time. We train on how to ask the question and go quiet. Now, when you ask that question, they're going to come back and they're going to say something. Right. And whatever it is they say, they're going to either ask you a legitimate question or they're going to throw up an objection, right? Whatever it is they do, we summarize what we just heard. And then we ask them, what do they want to do about it? So here's the thing that's the change in the thought process, Jonathan. It's the fact that they're sitting with all this risk and they're going to have to do something with it. And they don't know how bad the problem is until you do a fee-based engagement. Because when you do that quick and dirty scan, what really happens is they get a false sense of security that they shouldn't have because they don't know whether or not their team is going to enable and further cyber attacks. They don't know if criminals are actively stalking their business right now. And more importantly, they don't know who's inside their business right now. And you guys all know that the ransomware play is going down. The steal money any way you can play is going up. And I don't know if you guys heard this last week in Nashville, but Special Agent Andre Edwards let us know that in New York City, the FBI will not get involved unless there is $100 million loss. And in Nashville, second tier city, they won't get involved unless the loss is greater than $1 million. And
he also said one other thing that was really relevant is the problem all you guys as IT people have right now is you have crappy software. And the MSPs are immediately going to like, oh, we have good tools. He's not talking about that. He's talking about the software attached to all your networks is the people. And that's how they view people as their software. And the software has bugs and you can't fix it.
Well, yeah. And
that was crazy. That whole statement was crazy to me that he talked about.
Yeah, that was definitely like a huge takeaway for everybody in the room.
Yeah.
You can't fix the people problem. Right. And we can't get rid of the people. So there you are. Permanent problem. Okay. So anyway, so here's the thing we want to do is we want to shift the conversation and we want to change our questions. So when we talk to people early on in the process, we've got to focus on business risk. And what we've really got to do is we've got to decide how are we going to get the business owner to think about this risk? So right now, you may have difficulty answering that question. How do you get a business owner to think about risk? Because what do business owners think right now? They think, hey, it doesn't happen here. It doesn't happen to me. So what's the single largest risk a business owner faces? What's the single largest risk a business owner faces? And what you've got to do is you've got to expose the gap. You've got to ask them things like, do you have a hacker inside your business right now? They don't know how to answer that. Is there a hacker resident inside your network? They don't know how to answer that. How would you know? When was the last time you checked, right? And are hackers trying to actively penetrate your defenses today, right? Now look at what we're doing. We're making this whole problem relevant and now, right? And now
one other thing we haven't done, really quick, I'm sorry, Cindy. We have not said tool or vendor name or any of this stuff. It's all about business.
Absolutely. It's all about the business issue. And here, what we're going to do now is we're going to expose the why. Why would a hacker sit inside the network and observe the business? I would love it if somebody would give me a shout out in the comments. Why do you think a hacker sits inside a business and watches? What are they doing, right? Why? Hackers are rational people, right? What is a hacker is trying to do? They're fundamentally trying to separate money from the business. And hackers are smart. They're trying to figure out how to do it with a monthly recurring revenue flavor, right, Chris? They're trying to figure out how to, how to hack money out every single month, right? And I don't know if exfiltration is the right word. That might be, a little bit too sophisticated for me. I'm like, dude, they're about the money. What they're hoping to find is they're hoping to find a big deal going down.
In reality, it kind of doesn't matter. Like, I want you guys to understand, look where you're immediately going. You guys are immediately going to, what specific method are they going to? It doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter to the client. How the hacker is going to get the stuff out has zero relevance to the client. What matters to the client is it's going to happen, and you need to understand you can't stop it. I can't stop it. You have to have those discussions with that. Cindy, I don't know if you saw my keynote. Actually, I know you saw my keynote last week, Wednesday. But one of the things I did about 3/4 of the way through was I said, everyone in the room raised their hand. Everybody had their hands up, and I said, who can prevent all hacks? All the hands
went down.
Now, if I went into a room of exactly the same quantity people, and I did the same thing, and it was 100 or 250 practice managers of orthopedic clinics, and I said, everybody raise your hand. How many of you have an IT guy that can prevent all your hacks? You know they'd be like this.
Yeah,
3/4 of the room would keep their hand up. Maybe even 7/8 of the room, because they think you got their back. Your job now is to change and expose the why. This is critical.
And that's the big thing. What makes it worthwhile is the whole transfer of the money. And that's why you've got to raise the stakes and start asking them what happens when your 3 biggest business relationships are compromised, when trust is broken, right? What happens? What happens to the business? What happens if 10% of your revenue is stolen? What happens if key suppliers are not paid in a timely manner? How many times do you have to miss payments before it goes to collections? 3 times, 90 days past due. That means a hacker can go in and get three bites of revenue, right? That's what they're trying to do. And when payments are hijacked, what does that do to business relationships? And what does it do to your bank account, right? What does it do to your bank account? What happens if you lose too much money too quickly and you can't make payroll?
Yep. Okay, Cindy, I got to take time out for just 1 second.
Take a time out.
One sec, quick time out. Here's a little treat for you guys. We're giving this. I told you got to drop in at certain points. So you guys that are in front of us, this is our first window that we're opening up. We're giving away 2 Amazon gift cards at the end of this broadcast. You can register right there, drawing.sevenfiguremsp.com. This is going to go down in about 5 seconds. So I'll see if you're paying attention.
Okay. Drawing. That's
Continue.
Okay. So what we do that's different is we got to diagnose the situation. Do the hackers know who you are? Are they trying to hack you? Will your people enable and further a cyber attack, right? Do your people store passwords that when compromised are going to cost you money? Now, I want you to look at all of these questions. Can a business owner answer these questions without your help? No. Can a business owner answer these questions with a really light scan? Probably not, right? But look at these questions. Is a business owner going to be interested in this? Absolutely. So when we diagnose what's going on and we execute what I call a comprehensive cybersecurity risk assessment, we look at the team, we look at the applications, we look at the network, we look at the data. Now, here's the thing. I know you have clients that say, I'm 100% in the cloud. I don't need to have security. My cloud vendors are worried about it. Well, you know what? When we do a comprehensive cybersecurity risk assessment, we can prove to them that hackers are trying to compromise their cloud-based applications. What do you think that does to people who had a false sense of security because they were in the cloud and didn't have any servers on-prem, right? Makes a huge difference in the equation. So let's kind of worry about the tools a little bit. At the Wiser Agency here, we don't care what tools you use. Start with your tools. So let's go through a quick inventory of what tools you've got and whether or not you're using them, because I know you care. All right, first of all, do you have a tool that does dark web scans and phishing? If you don't, Breach Secure Now is a great tool. Do you have a tool that scans your network? You probably do. Most MSPs are really rock solid at scanning the network. So I don't care what tool you use to do that. If you need a tool, you might want to look at Nodeware, or you might want to look at Cyber CNS, but you can use anything you want. I don't care. Third question, what do you have that finds protected information? Do you have a tool that scans all the data and finds protected information? Because if you don't, you can use Actifile. Okay. But if you do have one, great. But you can use Actifile. Then, do you have a tool that helps you ask questions of the decision makers so that you understand how the business operates and how the equipment is supplied and re-provisioned and all that kind of stuff? Lifecycle Insights, great tool for maintaining all of that. Our members have access to a special assessment inside of Lifecycle Insights that basically has all the questions you have to answer when you're doing a cybersecurity risk assessment. Everything we do, Chris, help me out with this, CIS 8 compliant?
I would say 98% of the way there with the base scans. It just depends on, you need some higher end stuff if you're really going to be CIS. I mean, every tool we're using is that, yes. But are you going to complete a full CIS 8 compliance scan at that level? You're going to need to do some more stuff.
Okay, fantastic.
I'm also going to say,
on the path.
I'm also going to say, unless you have SEC, maybe FTC safeguards, maybe some of these other things in front of you, like we're not in a place where the MSP has to provide that compliance level scan yet. This scan is now for you to get all the data specifically so you can present it to your prospect and show them the risk. That's the factor. So I think we just got to be careful about saying, CIS 8 compliant, even though we're
on the path
concept. Yeah.
Right. And so the thing that I want to communicate in this conversation is that we're on the path for that kind of thing. So you're not out in the weeds somewhere, right? And you're collecting this information for a fee. So you might be asking me, well, Cindy, I'm going to execute the CSRA. I used to give them away for free. What do I want to charge? Well, you can charge whatever you want. The guidance we give people is that for a 10-seat opportunity, charge $1,500, right? Charge enough that they don't put you in the free category, okay? Charge enough that when you call and set up meetings, they show up. Charge enough so that they're engaged in the process. And really, that's what the fee is for. The fee is for commitment on their part. And what it does is—
so well said. The fee, we've never said that exactly like that, but the fee is for their commitment. Man, I love that.
Well, and I want to really dig into that. Their commitment is what enables you to win big, okay? Because we've all chased people for appointments, right? Everybody on this call can raise their hand and talk about the time you've chased a decision maker when it's been more important to you than it was to them to actually show up to a meeting, right?
Not every deal any way possible. Think about the difference there.
That's exactly right. And so the difference between a network assessment, or what I want to call a light CSRA assessment, and what I'm talking about here is a genuine application of intellectual property and intellectual horsepower to have a conversation with your counterpart at the business who cares about their business as much as you care about yours, so that you get that shared bond of competence that Chris and I always talk about once a month when we do our big webinar. We talk about how you have to have a shared bond of competence. The cybersecurity risk assessment for a fee screens out all the people who don't care about what you do at the very beginning. And Chris, how much time do I have into a relationship when I screen out the people who are not a fit? 1 hour.
Yeah.
When I pitch and ask you and tell you the next step in our process is a cybersecurity risk assessment, would you like to go ahead with that? And they push back or they ask questions or whatever, they're going to expose their thought process on what they value and what they don't, right? And in these days of heightened cybersecurity attacks where they're just off the chart, and every client represents a risk to your business, you know that there are going to be certain relationships that go sideways. And when they do, and they will, who do you want to be involved with? You want to know your buyer, right? You want to know your buyer. And so the big question is, do you see how changing the questions and the frame around the conversation puts the buyer's mind in a different place? Give me a Big 10-4 if you can see that. Like, give me a thumbs up or pop something in the chat like, yes, I can see it. If you can see how the frame has changed, right? And the frame only changes if you change your behavior first. You have to lead in this conversation because the market has been conditioned to think that you don't know how to lead.
Yeah.
And that's wrong. I know you know how to lead. You just haven't practiced and developed that muscle. And that's what a cybersecurity risk assessment will do for you. It will absolutely do that for you. Now,
and note it also, one other thing really quick.
Yeah.
It starts with cybersecurity, not network assessment. Cybersecurity, relevant stuff now, important things now, focusing on hacking now, having these conversations now, because you also need some deniability. Talking to a guy last night, Jose, one of our sales people, brought me on to a call to talk to a gentleman named Jeremy from Adelaide in Australia.
Oh, cool.
He's actively getting questions from his clients now, especially in Australia. So this is now hitting Australia to where they're actively getting questions from clients about, can you help me fill out my new insurance application, which now has things about security in it. And one of his questions was, how do I talk to my clients about this if they're already thinking I'm not doing all the stuff?
That's right. And we know one of the biggest things that people say during the process working with us is this thing. I'm going to put quotes around it because we hear it all the time. I thought you were already doing this, right? Mm-hmm. And there's so many MSPs that don't want to open up the conversation because they know they're going to have to answer the question, I thought you were already doing this for me, right? And that is a powerful question on behalf of the buyer, and there is a really reasonable answer to it. And I'm just going to open it up for people in Facebook to type in, what's your answer to the question, I thought you were already doing this for me? I want to hear your answer to that question, and then I'll give you mine, right?
No, guys, Cindy's saying pop that into the chat. She means the comments. We're used to working on Zoom.
Oh, yeah. I keep saying pop it into the chat because, Chris, I'm looking over here. Chris always says I'm not technical, which is absolutely true. And I'm sitting over here looking at this little box, and it looks just like a Zoom chat.
It does look like chat, but it's just a matter of comments on, and we're on multiple platforms because we're on 4 Facebook, LinkedIn, and 4 Facebook pages and groups, and then LinkedIn and YouTube right now live. So, okay. So Cindy, we want to fill out in the comments. What do we want to put on there?
What's the question? The question is, I thought you were already doing this for me.
So how do you guys answer that question?
How do you answer that question?
Meanwhile, I'm going to show up thing number 2. We're doing a drawing at the end of the call. If you're just joining us, you got to stay till the end. But here's your second cue. You can go to drawing.sevenfiguremsp.com and fill out. You can only put it in once. It's only going to take your stuff once for the record. Even if you try and scam the system, it ain't going to work. Cindy? Continue.
Okay. So here's the thing. I didn't see a whole lot of answers. I did see my favorite answer, which is things have changed, right? So when somebody says, I thought you were taking care of that, right? We're currently working on that right now. I love that, Christopher. I mean, I love that, but that still leaves the impression that you're responsible for things you can't possibly do. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that, Christopher, I want to invite you to change your mind about is that the world has changed. And even as an MSP, even as an extremely competent MSP, there are things that your client hasn't allowed you to do. Am I right about that? Give me that's right if that's right. I mean, everybody out there, do you have clients telling you no to things? Like, no, I don't want multi-factor. No, I don't want password management. All that kind of stuff, right? So they tell you no. They hold you back from being as much as you could be with them. So really what we have to do is we have to put a point in the sand where we say, this is the point of demarcation. That was then, this is now, and things have changed. And that's why we do that, right? That's why we have to have that point of demarcation. That's why we have to have a cybersecurity risk assessment where we actually go in and show the client what's going on, where their security gaps are, and then ask them what they want to do about it, because they've been in the past not dealing with their own risk, right? So there we go. That's kind of how that works. And there's been a question in the chat, Chris, about insurance forms. And there's a lively discussion going back and forth about insurance forms and what to do, and do we charge for that? And for me, for my money, anytime somebody calls in and says, "Hey, I got this form, I need help filling it out. I'm going to open a ticket with your technicians to get somebody to help me fill this form out." Red flag, throw down the marinara red flag and say, "Hey, that ticket now goes to the president of the MSP. And that request to fill out an insurance form can only be fulfilled by doing a cybersecurity risk assessment. And we have to do a comprehensive inspection of what's going on in your business before we can answer the forms. Because you don't actually know what's changed since the last time you looked at things, right? Do clients do things and you don't know they're doing it? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Right? Do they put things on the network you don't know about? Absolutely. Do they have shadow IT going on? Absolutely. Are they copying files from one place and shipping it up to the cloud in some other kind of application? Absolutely.
Are they getting thumb drives from other vendors?
Oh my God.
Picking up in the parking lot and plugging them in? Absolutely. Right.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of, I'm just going to say it, there's all kinds of crazy shit going on in every business you go in there, and you don't know what it is. And if you don't do a cybersecurity risk assessment, how do you know? How do you know what's going on? And that's really the thing. So have I made my case? Do you understand why it's not free? Let me know in the chat if you understand why this is not free, because this is like super important. And I can keep hammering this nail if you don't believe me yet. So do you understand why the cybersecurity assessment is not free? Do we get that? Is that a good point? Oh, yeah. Okay. I got one yes. All it takes is one yes, baby. And I'm ready to move on. So, okay, I'm glad I got that point across. So now I want to shift gears also, because there's a thing that's equally important to me, and that is protecting your fanny. Okay. We got to protect our own butts. And you're right. Free is not valuable. So here's the thing. You've got to have a statement of work and a limit of liability before starting work. And why is this? Anybody want to wave their hand for all the people that have been hacked while a cybersecurity assessment has been in progress? That happens. You have no control of what's going on in the world out here. You start work on Monday. A hacker came in Monday at midnight. The client says, "Well, we never been hacked before until you came in and started doing this fang-dangled cybersecurity risk assessment. How do I know you're not the hacker?" This is why we don't do work without the paperwork, right? We've got to have a statement of work for our cybersecurity risk assessment that limits our liability, because you don't control the universe, right? Got to do it. Got to do it. And you've got to have a conversation with your executive sponsors about this possibility in advance, because it absolutely does happen. And you need a simple checklist to assure that you always have your paperwork in order. Gone are the days of doing things without a checklist, right? So what I want to hear right now is, what are your biggest obstacles to adopting this new process of doing cybersecurity risk assessments? Do you have any obstacles to actually doing this work? What's your obstacles?
Usually the obstacle that I see is here.
Yeah.
What is it? The 6-inch problem, right? Then it's, I don't have the tools. Then it's, I don't have the time. Then it's, I don't have the tech to do it. That's what I see.
Okay. Well, we know how to fix all those problems. Okay.
Great.
And Ryan O'Hara has some beautiful stuff. And Chris, I don't know if we've told people this. I love having people on the calls live, and so do you. And it's a beautiful thing. But we also have assets inside the big Facebook group that people can go listen to that will help them get started. So you don't have to wait to get rolling. Okay. What you have to have is some commitment on your part, right? So tell me, you still want to do free stuff?
And half the battle is you just got to go, guys.
Yeah.
I know it's not easy, but you got to go. You got to start somewhere. And if you just sit there and think about it, the biggest excuse I get is, I don't know what to do. Okay, but if we slow down And even if you don't have a coaching program like us or somebody else to work with, as a technician, you can sit down, because almost all of us that started an MSP were technical when we started, right? So if you sit down and you say, what things do I need to know to show my client they have risk? And it shouldn't just be technical, because
That's right.
I'll give you a great idea. Think like an insurance agent. Think like an insurance agent application.
Bingo.
And it's really funny because if I say to the MSP, hey, when you're doing your assessment, your network assessment, ask your client how much revenue they do per year and per month, and ask them how much money they have in the bank. The MSP's like, I can't ask that.
That's private.
They're not going to tell me. They'll get mad. They won't. It's private. They won't tell me, et cetera, et cetera. But you know what? You know who they do tell? First day on the job, insurance agent, when they're doing an interview, because it's relevant to protecting their risk, and it's on the insurance agency, whether it's the corporate America or if it's like your local independent insurance agent, it's on their applications and it's part of the industry. You have to start changing how you think. It's not just about the tech, it's about the risk. And what are the hackers after now? Yeah, they want to do all this other stuff, blah, blah, blah. But the end goal is we want to get their money. That's what the hackers are after now.
They're all about the money.
Mm-hmm.
They're all about the money. And for anybody who doesn't believe it, I want you to go out to the FBI, to the IC3, and I want you to get their latest report. I think, Chris, maybe I haven't made a post in the big group lately. Maybe I'll post that up in the big group after this call so people can go and get that. But here's the thing. Over 10% of all businesses in the U.S. have been hacked in the last 5 years. And the amount of money that's changing hands has gone up by 49% in the last 12 months. And it is not going down, and it is not going away. So the fundamental external forces on business have absolutely changed. And a cybersecurity risk assessment puts you in front of that problem and gives you a way to talk to your clients so that they will respect you and what you do and the changes you're going to have to bring into their environment to keep them as safe as possible. So, Chris, I think it might be time for, next steps, which I heard had something to do with a couple of prizes. What do you think?
Well, we got a couple things, and I think Amanda's coming on here in a second because she just told me she wanted to say something. But first of all, while we're doing the fact, I'm going to send her a message to join. She's not listening. Okay, so Amanda's coming in here. Amanda's our head of marketing here at Seven Figure, and we got a special announcement that we're going to do. That you have no idea. You have no idea what this is. But we are going to be giving away 2 Amazon gift cards as well to everybody watching live with us. Please go ahead and fill that out. You guys have a second here to do that. We're going to do that in about 3 to 5 minutes as soon as Amanda gets here. And then we're going to get rolling on that. Let me just see how we're doing on our fill outs on that. I see people. So I'm going to take a couple of other quick comments here. A couple pieces that I want to specifically focus on here.
And we can get rid of the slides. That's the last slide.
Okay, cool. First thing, you have to do assessments, period. Now, you cannot touch a network anymore at all unless you're doing full-on cybersecurity risk assessments. Second, you have to have a master service agreement and a statement of work that applies to that. If you don't have any of those things, please shoot me a DM. We'll work with you. We'll help you on that. Those are things that we actively do. Also, we have a scenario for you to sign up and book a call with our team. Let me just get this up here. I'm going to do that real quick. If you guys need help on any of this stuff, you can talk to Jose or Liban, our development rep team. Liban is our basically call appointment setting guy. And then Jose is our closer. So you can do either of those, but feel free to take a look at that. That gives you some review on our program and we can go from there. Okay. I do have really quick, we're going to do this. And while we're doing this, I'm going to, you guys really quick, if you're with us and if you haven't registered for our drawing, that's our 2 Amazon gift cards today that we're doing. I'm going to bring in Amanda from our marketing team. Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
How are you today?
Great.
That's good. So we got a pretty cool surprise. So Cindy, in all of my wisdom / do everything by the seat of my pants, which is most of the time, on stage last week, I totally forgot that we were doing a cash giveaway in Nashville. So Amanda, and what we do at our live events is we gather these vendor passports. So all of our vendor partners that come, Amanda, flip one of those over and let's look at the other side. So Amanda can show this really quick. That's all the different, and what that is each one of those squares, it's really hard to see. Yeah, that's cool to do that. Each one of those squares has one of our vendor sponsors that's there. And then the attendees have to go around and they get it stamped. So they got to have a conversation with one of our vendor partners and do all those things. Well, that was from Nashville, Amp Up Your MSP in Nashville, May 16th through 18th, last week. I forgot to give away our cash. So I gave away our trip, but Amanda, I got off stage and Amanda's like, what about the prize? I'm like, shit. Okay. Is what it is. I guess we're going to do it live. So we're doing it right now. Meanwhile, if you guys, we're going to come right into this in a second. I'm going to let Amanda draw this. And this is, what is the prize that we're giving away, Amanda, on that?
This is the $500 cash prize.
So we're giving away $500 cash right now. You had to be at Nashville and you had to fill out a vendor passport card, and that had to be handed in to our team, which you're seeing right there that Amanda's doing for you.
Yeah. I'm just looking through here because I just want to make sure I get them all shuffled and spread out. We wanted to do this live on here so we can show you, like, we're not messing around when we pick our winner. We're actually doing it the right way. We have integrity. So you ready?
Yep, hit it.
You need to go from this side or the middle.
You just pick one. All right, let Cindy pick.
Okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to make one finger and you're going to go like this, and I'm going to say stop, and you're going to stop on that card. Okay, ready? So start from the other side, all the way over. Okay, keep coming. Stop. You went too far. Stop right there.
All right. The winner is.
What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
He actually was on stage collecting a 100K MRR award in Nashville. It is Jim Reichard.
Congrats, Jim. That's awesome, buddy. That's cool.
Yeah.
So Jim was live at our show, massively grew. What did he say? Cindy, he's like, just get in the program and do the things. Do the things.
Right?
He's over, I believe he said he's over 230,000 actually MRR.
Yeah.
Not just the 100,000 mark. So
he applied late.
He's crushing it.
He applied late. Correct.
All right.
Congratulations, Jim. That's awesome. So what I have now, Amanda and I built this literally this morning. So Amanda built that landing page, and I was on Wheel of Names.
Look how cool that is.
So we made this work this morning. It's pretty cool. So we took everybody that filled out our form. You see all of our names here, and we're going to draw 2 people out of this.
This is awesome.
Here's one right now, going right now. So you see all our people that signed up. Our first winner for one $100 gift card is Fred Hughes. Congratulations, Fred Hughes. That was pretty fun. I really liked
We
that.
missed Fred in Nashville, but I believe he has a brand new addition to his family.
Oh, really? Fred had a baby?
Not Fred.
Okay, next one. Here's our second one. This is fun. Like, I love this.
This is super cool.
This is cool. And Amanda's like,
I want to give away more.
Now? I'm like, yeah.
Hey, Fred's on the call.
We're doing this today. Awesome. And we have second one is John Carruthers.
Very cool.
See, you guys make fun of me for my dumb ideas, but that's pretty cool, Amanda. That worked.
No, it was really cool.
I love seeing everybody's name up really big in big, nice print.
Well, it takes all the bullshit out of it, is what it does. Absolutely. So I'm excited. So, Fred said here we go. Fred said, still not a grandpa yet. I don't know. You look like a grandpa. Fred, you look like a grandpa, buddy. Fred's my friend, so I got to give him a little hard time. Okay. Well, Amanda, thanks for doing that.
If they're the winners, what do they do? Will we just get with them?
Okay, so do this. If you won that, shoot an email to info@sevenfiguremsp.com. Let me put this up here. If you won, email sorry, this is totally like, I'm not joking that we do shit on the cuff here.
We have it on our stuff too, so we can reach out to them.
If you won, that's John Carruthers, Fred Hughes, and Jim Reichard we can reach out to because we know Jim.
Yeah, and he'll be on the elite call later probably.
And we'll send him some cash. But for the rest of you guys, those are 2 $100 Amazon gift cards. Just please email info@sevenfiguremsp.com, and Amanda Pants will handle that for you.
Yeah, we'll get you taken care of.
Okay. Amanda, that was fun.
Awesome.
See,
Yeah,
you were
that was
giving me a
great.
hard time about my stupid ideas.
It was no hard time.
That was pretty cool. She's like, you want to do this now? I'm like, yeah.
Do we want to wait?
We had this idea last night.
Cool.
We had this idea
We
last
did
night.
it.
It was pretty
Yeah.
cool. It was awesome. That worked. Because I'll tell you what, guys, it's hard to do the stuff on a live broadcast when you don't have like something to draw from, because we don't know who's watching these. That's the challenge. Like when you're doing the live streams, you don't know. Nobody registered.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Yeah,
So
that's true. On Zoom, we at least can see the
we can
people
see
that
who
are still
registers
there.
and we can see the
Mhm.
attendees. I can't see it on the live. So I had to come up with a way to do it. And it was like,
Yeah.
I was actually on an aesthetic conference with my wife, and they did Wheel of Names. So that's where I stole it from. And they
I
had
think this
QR
needs
code.
to be in addition to the monthly sales.
It's going. It will. I already told Cindy it's going to, because it worked. I tested it and
Yeah,
it's great.
so fun.
That works.
So
So good. Okay, sounds good, guys. Cindy Phillips, we're going to be back next week. Next week
Right.
Wednesday.
First time appointment.
We're going to be doing this same thing. We're going to talk about the second step in the sales process after the first time, or basically after the finding the lead. We're going to go into the first time appointment. But what we wanted to say today was how important it is to be using cybersecurity risk assessments. Mission critical stuff, guys. So, Cindy, anything you want to say?
No, I'll see you guys next week.
Okay, Amanda, thanks. We'll see you guys later.
Thanks.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Amanda.
Bye-bye.